Yeah, so welcome everyone in this initiative called as Saturdays for Sustainability Learning. And this is an initiative where we connect with a goal to discuss sustainability topics in a holistic way, in a holistic understanding. So if you're joined for the first time, let me just quickly introduce you to this initiative. So this is nothing but a mastermind group where we sustainability professionals, learners connect for peer-to-peer mentoring, learning, and the focus is providing a solution. So not more focus on problem, but what solutions, what we can do. And joining this session, maybe next 60 minutes, you will get this four benefits, four outcomes you can see. Maybe learning something new, networking, getting to know about more learning opportunities, career opportunities, and thought leadership, where we want to take India and world towards sustainable development. So that is something that we want to explore. And if you ask me within 1 minute to explain this initiative, so let me tell you this. This is a pyramid: data, information, knowledge, wisdom, DIKW pyramid. And one thing is very clear: in today's time, we have more data and more information than we can possibly consume. And every day something new comes up in sustainability and environment. So it's always better to learn it for someone with the experience of people. So main important thing is knowledge and wisdom, and that is something that we can get with the experience. And that's a request for all of you. If you have something to share, please do share. And the second thing is discussion and question and answer is, I guess, one of the best way to learn. And that's how I will request everyone, please feel free to ask the question. This is non-judgmental group, and you can ask as many questions as you want. So this is not supposed to be a expert session where only expert talks and all listen. If you have anything to add, please do so. Yeah. And if you want to join the next sessions as well, so please register here. One-time registration is required. And if you have already done so, no need to do it again. So one-time registration is enough. And that's how you will get the calendar invite, and that's how the notifications you'll receive. And it will be a long-term, maybe sustainable learning. You will join all the next sessions as well. All right. So with this initial introduction, I'm very happy to share about today's topic, and which is many times it's confusing for us in a way of understanding and also convincing someone on the importance of how we can nurture planet and profit together. So it's always a battle. That's a preconceived notion that we have. So if we want to achieve, let's say, economic prosperity, then environment has to be harmed, and the vice versa, right? So on this important topic, I'm very happy that Dr. Sarika Kulkarni, who is a founder and chief executive of Raah Foundation, and who has been exploring entrepreneurship, job creations, biodiversity. So there are a lot of things to talk about, Dr. Sarika. But it is pertinent to point out that she has experimented all these things, and with her experience, maybe we would like to understand how can we nurture planet and profit together. Is it possible? The first question that most of us have, and if yes, how to do so? Yeah, over to you, Dr. Sarika. Thank you so much for joining as a guest speaker.
Thank you so much for this invitation. What a pleasure this is. And congratulations for this very, very unique and amazing initiative. I love the name Saturdays for Sustainability. Absolutely. Actually, we have Mondays for Sustainability, Tuesdays, Wednesdays,
Yeah.
Fridays, but it's a great beginning to have Saturdays for Sustainability. So basically, and then we can, great beginning, as I said, and we can move slowly into the direction where we have all the 7 days for sustainability. So anyway, so happy, thank you so much. And I'll primarily talk about our experiments and what we have done, what we have learned in Raah Foundation. I'll just share my screen quickly. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. I'll just give me a second. 1 second. I'll just do it on play. Yeah, is this clear now?
Yeah, we can see it full screen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So So let me start with something very important, that why should we really talk about what we are talking today? Why this conversation really matters? It's as simple as that, because if we delay now, this will be the costliest decision we make. And we all know the reasons. I just want to reiterate the reasons. Of course, the most important reason is that the earth sustains us, but it's in a deep crisis. Environmental degradation threatens food security, health, livelihoods, everything. And especially for those who depend directly on nature. But we all depend directly on nature, right? So, environment degradation is going to directly impact all of us now or in the near future. It's coming to us. There is no stopping that, definitely. And development has definitely come at a huge cost. And as Dhananjay, you rightly said that uh, people and planet can work together, can progress and thrive together, is something that we are talking about, because we have not spoken about this critical topic before this. We have always progressed without actually looking at environment, and rapid economic progress has completely ignored the ecological limits. It has pushed us to climate instability and massive biodiversity loss. And of course, the most vulnerable have borne the brunt. Marginalized communities, particularly the indigenous people with whom we work, and women, have disproportionately affected by climate change. And unfortunately, they are the ones who have contributed least to the climate change problem. And of course, I mean, we may say that they are the ones who are most affected. But as I said, it's coming to us. It's not, we are not very far away. So that's why this conversation is really, really important. And honestly, what prosperity can you expect on a dying planet? Uh, Human well being and economic stability are deeply tied to ecological resilience. And we must rethink prosperity. The time has really come where we should rethink prosperity. And it is possible, because we can, if we reimagine how we grow, which means if we start shifting from extraction to regeneration, from silos to systems, and from short term gains to long term harmony, we can definitely prosper. I mean, there is hope. I believe that there still is hope. And as I said, solution exist, and they are all rooted in communities, agroecology, landscape restoration, water security, nature based livelihoods. They all show that planet and people can thrive together. And for us, this conversation also matters because it's a intergenerational responsibility. The choices we make today are going to shape the condition of life for generations. And this is a decade of decisions. And hence, this conversation is extremely important. I just want to quickly reiterate, which we all know, but it's very important for today's conversation. Global temperatures, as we all know, have risen by 1.2 degrees Celsius since pre industrial times, with 23-24 period recorded the hottest on earth. CO2 levels have reached 424 ppm in 2024, highest in over 800,000 years. Extreme events are escalating. 2023 saw 50 climate disasters, causing more than $1 billion in damages. India, of course, has faced increased frequency of heat waves, floods, erratic rainfalls, which has disrupted everything from lives to farming cycles. 69% decline in global wildlife population. Very sad. Over 1 million species face extinction, many within this decade, and that's why we call this a decade of decisions. India's Western Ghats, a biodiversity hotspot, has already lost over 30% of forest cover. And some of the zones, it is much more than 30%. Two-thirds of the global population experiences water scarcity for at least 1 or 2 months every year. India is among one of the most water-stressed nations. 21 major cities are expected to run out of groundwater by 2020, by 2030. How can industries function without water? I mean, how can prosperity happen without water? 70% of India's surface water is polluted, impacting human health, ecosystems, everything. Over 30% of global arable land is degraded, and India loses 5.3 billion tons of soil annually due to erosion, reducing agriculture productivity. So, on one hand, the number of mouths that want to feed are increasing, but the agriculture production is going to go down drastically. Climate change is already reducing cereal yields by 4 to 10% across Asia. 3.6 billion people live in areas which are extremely vulnerable to climate change. And the poorest, of course, as we discussed, are going to be most affected, which is going to lead to massive migrations, which due to climate-linked disasters. Up to they are estimating that 216 million people could be displaced by 2050, and this is a World Bank data. So situation clearly is something that we have to sit up, notice, and be extremely aware of, and change how we grow. We have found a solution in being kind to people and kind to planet, and that has been the hallmark of our model. Our entire work is dictated by these two things: kindness to people and kindness to planet. We believe that prosperity doesn't have to come at the cost. Sorry. Yeah, we believe that prosperity doesn't have to come at the cost of planet, and our model is rooted in systemic inclusion and regenerative approaches. We found our calling in the northern Western Ghats in Maharashtra after we started Raah Foundation in 2011. Me and my co-founder Girish Kulkarni, both of us started Raah in 2011, and the first couple of years went, of course, in getting all the compliances ready. And we were trying to we are big nature lovers and wildlife lovers as well. We have been to most of the sanctuaries in India and also some parks outside India. And clearly, Northern Western Ghats was something which was always exciting for us. And a lot of trekking has been done there. Uh, but over the years, we also saw the degradation of Northern Western Ghats. So when we started Raah Foundation, it was very, very obvious that we'll find Northern Western Ghats as our karma bhumi, because we definitely wanted to do something about the Northern Western Ghats. When we actually seriously started looking at Northern Western Ghats to start our work, it became very obvious that deforestation and habitat degradation, fragmentation is huge. Now, Western Ghats, incidentally, is also one of the top 10 biodiversity hotspot in the entire world. And of course, as we all know, it faces ecological, social, and development challenges because of massive deforestation and multiple other challenges, issues, which we will talk about. So, degradation and habitat fragmentation, and what does this cause? This has happened because of encroachment for agriculture, roads, settlement, dams, etc. And this has led to loss of native forest, monoculture plantation, massive water scarcity. Interestingly, one of the highest rainfall areas, but poor water retention due to degraded forest and soil has led to massive water scarcity in this area. Check dams, open wells, natural streams, etc. They dry up very, very quickly. This is causing erratic monsoons, and climate change is intensifying, and this is further exacerbating water stress in the region. This is all that we saw when we started working. Biodiversity loss, as I mentioned, is huge. Decline in species. Several species are absolutely have become endemic, like pangolin, then lion-tailed macaw, several, and the area is full of invasive species. Lantana is like everywhere, which has displaced native vegetation. We have lost traditional knowledge of biodiversity, and some of it is also very fast disappearing. Agriculture in this area, because of all this, has become extremely unsustainable. A dependency on chemical intensive cash crops, massive cashew plantation, sugarcane plantation, monocropping, soil degradation, declining productivity of soil, increased debt among farmers, limited diversification, and low resilience to climate shocks. Another thing we saw was massive poverty and marginalization. There's a very high proportion of communities with tribal communities, and they have very limited access to markets, causing seasonal migration, limited local livelihood opportunities, low land right security, especially for women and indigenous groups. Obviously, extremely climate vulnerable people, rising temperature, unseasonal rains, extreme weather events, increased risk of landslide, droughts, crop failures, traditional coping mechanisms were weakening, and multiple other challenges we started experiencing. And of course, it's depressing, but we found hope. We thought, yes, there are problems, but it's very important to be conscious and cognizant about the problems that you are trying to solve. And hence, instead of being scared and running away from the problems, we decided to face these problems head on. That let's find a solution. I'm sure there was a solution, is how we really started. We said, okay, now these are the problem statements. How do we go about it? We have to revive the Western Ghats, and which is extremely critical. And Western Ghats are also very, very critical for India, as we know that they are ecological lifelines of peninsular India. And because as I mentioned, biodiversity hotspot, one of the major biodiversity hotspot in India, ecological lifeline. It is the forest in the Ghats. They regulate local temperatures. They sequester a lot of carbon. They maintain the ecological balance. They support rich gene pool, critical for climate resilient agriculture and medicinal systems. They are water tower for millions. Some of the major rivers like Godavari, Krishna, Koyna, Bhima, and so many other west and south facing flowing rivers. They originate in this entire area, this particular area. This area serves as a catchment to this area. As you know, Godavari is the second longest river. 245 million people depend on Godavari for livelihood, which originates off Trambakeshwar in Western Ghats. Forest ecosystems, they regulate the rainfall, groundwater recharge, maintain year-round water availability in all the areas that are that where these rivers flow. And clearly, degradation of land is leading to flash floods in the entire Deccan Plateau. So clearly, a lot of work needed to be done in this area. I will like not get into problems. I will start with the solution. So we said, okay, what are the strategies to really revive the Western Ghats? Ecological restoration became a very, very obvious strategy. Regrow native forests, restore degraded grasslands, prevent monoculture expansion, revive critical wildlife corridors, and there was a lot of work to do. Water and soil conservation was very important. Improve the rainwater harvesting structures, improve rainwater harvesting capacity, improve the groundwater table because aquifers were drying very fast. Move the farmers from monocropping to agroecology, food forest, and then multi-cropping, etc. Replace the extractive agriculture, and then community-led governance, involve community in everything we do, and move the community towards bioeconomy. This became the blueprint for Raah Foundation when we really started. And the mission of our organization is to create prosperity for people in harmony with planet and biodiversity. And we believe this is absolutely possible and this is absolutely doable. And our vision is to restore 1 million acres of biodiversity rich landscapes and transform the lives of 1 million people through nature based climate resilient livelihoods by 2040. And we do this through three critical thematic areas. One is water security, agroecology, and ecological restoration. These three, they are also intertwined, as you would have realized, that if there is no water, there is no agriculture possible, there is no ecological restoration, trees are not going to survive. And so water security underpins all social problems. It becomes a horizontal, it is not a vertical. And ecological restoration, the moment you start planting trees, it also holds moisture, it improves the groundwater table, it again holds the soil. It doesn't allow soil to so it stops soil erosion, which again contributes to agriculture yields. So they all move together, so they are all intertwined. I'll quickly talk a little bit about our water security program. So we work at two levels. One is water for people and water for planet. Water for people is enhanced water availability for life and livelihoods for all the needs, which includes human drinking, cattle drinking, sanitation, hygiene, and importantly, agriculture. Improve water quality because we still see a lot of bacterial contamination in the drinking water, which we find there. One of the reason, of course, is that open defecation is extremely prevalent. So, water quality improvement through water filters, which are all gravity-based water filters, is something we do a lot. And then, of course, demand side management is very important, supply side and demand side. So, on the demand side, we create a gender neutral water management committee, which then works to ensure judicious water usage. They also become then owners of the water structures that we build, like check dam, dug well, farm ponds for agriculture, then cattle ponds for cattle drinking, Large ponds we rejuvenate, then lake revival. So a lot of these program, somebody has to, how do you build in sustainability? So we then build the capacity of the community, create gender neutral committees at the village level who then take care of these structures. We also teach them to leverage government funds so that in case they need any funds to revive, rejuvenate, or desilt after a couple of years, they can then leverage government funds. Similarly, Water for Planet is also a very, very important part of our work. This idea is to how do we enhance the groundwater table, rejuvenate aquifers, restoring watersheds and natural drainage systems, promoting soil and moisture conservation like contour lining of farms, contour trenching, and large scale contour trenching, basically reforest catchment areas, rainwater harvesting, rooftop rainwater harvesting at the household level and at the ecosystem level. So as I mentioned, that what we typically do is that contour trenching, contour lining of farms. We do rejuvenating bore wells. Now bore wells are something which is sucking India's groundwater table. We have a technology which we use to rejuvenate these bore wells. So we have already rejuvenated several defunct and dead bore wells and brought them back to life. So that is a very, very big activity that we do. So far, we have created about 1.3 billion liters of rainwater harvesting capacity, which has directly impacted over 100,000 people across 120 villages. And of course, we cannot, very difficult to really compute how much water we have sent to the ground and how much groundwater table we have improved. We are doing research and some study on that. We have engaged a large hydrogeological organization which is doing this study, because we definitely would like to see some estimates that how the groundwater table has improved because of our efforts. We have audacious goals. We want to create 5 billion liters of rainwater harvesting capacity over the next 5 years, which is quite a large goal that we have set for ourselves, but we are determined. And as I mentioned, that water is a horizontal, so unless there is water, nothing else is possible. It's the elixir of life, as we all say. We then, once we got the water work right, moved to farmers, and this is what we saw. Most of the farmers we saw were sitting like this, extremely depressed, extremely upset, didn't know what to do, and multiple reasons behind really this. One of the reason was, of course, that they had lost the indigenous agriculture practices, because water scarcity has not been has is not 10-year old or is not 20-year old. It's probably couple of decades old, because when we asked one of the farmers there when we started agriculture work that what would you do when you were child, he said we would migrate and work on brick kilns. And we were surprised. We said, why? They said there was no water even when I was child. So my father would migrate. So I started migrating. I learned migration from my parents, is something that was extremely shocking to us. So clearly, agriculture distress was humongous among people. As I said, multiple reasons. One, of course, water scarcity. Highest rainfall area becomes extremely water scarce immediately after. Lost agriculture knowledge. Um, didn't have access to high quality agriculture inputs like seeds, saplings, didn't know where to buy them. Uh, Importantly, flat land was limited, undulating land, so they didn't know what to do with their land parcel. Years of soil degradation, soil erosion has actually reduced the soil depth. The soil depth was extremely low. So again, didn't know what to do. Rocky soil, because it's part of the Western Ghats. So it's, and the Western Ghats are all made up of compact basalt rock. So that was another problem. So then, these I already mentioned that these were all the reasons. So clearly, the solution was agroecology and regenerative agriculture, that moving farmers from traditional extractive chemical laden farms to really agroecological and regenerative solutions. Now, agroecology and regenerative solution, as we all know, they are movements that align ecology, economy, and equity. And for small and marginal farmers, they offer practical and powerful pathways to thrive, not just survive. And that became the base of our entire agriculture work. We also needed a portfolio of solution. One solution would not work, because as I mentioned that You have undulating land, you have flat land, you have a combination of flat land and undulating land. Somewhere the undulating land is extremely undulating, somewhere it is partially undulating. So the variety of land was so humongous that there was no one solution that was possible. So depending on the land parcel, we propose a solution to the farmer. So we needed a portfolio of solutions. One of the solution was, of course, flower farming, and we have encouraged big time cultivation of jasmine and magnolia. And they offer a, and Mumbai market, Dadar market is nearby, and these areas are not very far off. So clearly there's a market, there's a huge demand. We all love flowers and we have huge demand for flowers. So we realize that that's a great opportunity. And importantly, this is a farmer gets a daily income because these, and they are shrubs. So they are less vulnerable to climate and extremely heavy rains, winds. They are like small shrubs. So they don't fall easily as like big trees would fall down. So they don't. So this was, we realized was a great opportunity for farmers. So we have encouraged flower farming. Food forest is another absolutely a great agroforestry kind of a system that we have. We created a 1 acre model, and in 1 acre we provide farmer 100 to 115 saplings of fruiting trees, of a combination of trees like lemon, mango, cashew, then intercropping with shrubs, herbs, so that year round income comes, some flowers, then nitrogen fixing crops like tuar, etc. A combination is provided to the farmers so that they start getting income. An important part about food forest is that they are intergenerational. Once you plant all these trees, the farmer gets income without too much effort for 25 to 30 years. Very, very good income comes. So that is something that we have encouraged big time. Then monsoon farming, when as I mentioned, one of the highest rainfall areas, when we went there we realized that all that farmers were doing was using so much water just to grow rice and ragi millets, and keeping everything for self consumption, because that's where their food security was coming from. We encouraged them to start monsoon farming. That we said, okay, great, do your rice and ragi, keep everything for self consumption, but use some small land parcel to do monsoon farming, like so many different type of guards. So we started giving them trellis support, some bamboos, and they started using the trellis support to actually grow this. We gave them seeds, a combination of guard seeds, and they started growing this, and it was so amazing. We They get about between 15,000 to 25,000, sometimes even 30,000 income just from one season of monsoon farming. Now, I'll just give you some context here. When we started working there, these are all small and marginal farmers, and they all typically, how does their life look like? I mean, they will grow rice and ragi during monsoon. Once the harvest comes, they'll start migrating to go and work in the urban areas. They will migrate, work there for 15-20 days, earn whatever money. They'll go and stand in the labor market. They are all unskilled laborers, so they will go and stand there. Whatever income they get, they will collect that money, bring it back. They hate living in the urban areas, so bring back to their villages, finish the money. Once they are zero, they go back and again stand in the labor market. What was happening was, this was creating a vicious cycle of poverty, no saving, nothing, vicious cycle of poverty and deprivation, which needed to be broken and to create a virtuous cycle of growth and development. And for that, every season of farming was important. We asked them that how much income is a great income, so which will allow you to stop this migration and continue living in your own villages. And we were so shocked to see that they said 50,000 rupees annually, and we like 50,000 rupees. They said, yeah. So in that context, 20,000 rupees from one season is huge. And because of our efforts, I mean, we said no, 50,000 is too less. You should at least get 75,000 to a lakh rupees income from farming. And the entire program we then worked backwards, that if that is the income they should get, then what kind of combination of
That's
crops they should have. Compact farming is another of our innovative approach to agroecology, where if they have flat land, then they do a combination of all these crops, and they get, as I mentioned, between 75,000 to a lakh income annually from a very small plot of land, importantly. Now here, although we are creating water sources, but water is still limited at the end of the day. It still needs to be used judiciously. So as a result, all the solutions that we created needed as less amount of water as possible. we introduced the farmers to turmeric farming because turmeric is a very high paying crop. Also in the mountain area, the turmeric grown has very high curcumin content. As a result, farmers get very good income. So that is something that we have encouraged big time. And turmeric is also a very season friendly crop because you need a lot of water during monsoon, and as the crop starts growing, the water requirement starts reducing, and harvesting happens in the month of February, March. So before onset of to a summer, actually you harvest the crop. So it's a great crop. We have introduced dragon fruit, which is in the at the pilot stage at the moment. Again, intergenerational crop, cacti family, so requires extremely less water. So it's again wait and watch. We tested the crop for the suitability to the climatic condition, soil conditions, etc. We are doing a pilot. We are not sure how this pilot will happen. Every year we do about 2 to 3 pilots to test what will work for farmers. We have done onion pilot of onion, which is worked very well. We have done pilot for spine guard, which was not successful. We did a pilot of bush pepper, which was again not successful. We are now doing a pilot of ginger, which we think will be very successful. So basically, it's a continuous learning. I mean, these solutions that I'm showing you are all through iterative process or through learning, through best practices, to understanding what peers are doing, what have been their experiences. So everything has been through a great. So we have organically all the solutions have been developed. We also introduced the farmers to system of rice intensification and millet intensification. They anyway are growing rice. Now, SRA, SMI are climate resilient rice and millet growing techniques. Because typically what happens, why am I saying climate resilient? Because they are little thicker crops as compared to the traditional rice or traditional millet. Because the fingers, when you say millet, finger millet, ragi or natsni, it is known as finger millet because they have fingers when they are growing, and each finger has seeds. So this has more fingers and these are more thicker. As a result, they are much more stronger. They hold each other stronger. So they are less resilient, less vulnerable to extremely high winds and rainfall. So these are all climate smart agriculture techniques, and we have so far worked with close to 3,000 farmers who have actually, most of them have stopped displacement. They have stopped going to the labor market. They lead a very happy, healthy life in their own villages. Lot of them are women farmers. In fact, we are just implementing a very large program with women farmers, the food forest program with about 600 women farmers. It's like undergoing implementation now. And then close to 3,000 acres of degraded land are now under cultivation. And we call them small ecological hotspots because they are trees, I mean, it's everything there which is required. By 2030, again, we aim to empower more than 15,000 farmers, which is another, as per our estimate, which will be close to 11,000 to 12,000 acres of degraded land. And then we move to the last program that we have in Raah Foundation, which is a huge program, which is ecological restoration and biodiversity rejuvenation. Um, Restoring the Western Ghats is so important. As we have seen the reasons, we have seen why, and we know how to do it. So again, I will not go into the nitty gritties of why we should do. We have lost 33%, 34% of forest cover, and we'll lose 50% of forest by 2050 if nothing is done today. If we just continues, the status quo continues. So it's very important that this program is very critical. A little bit about the biodiversity of Western Ghats. It's extremely rich. 30% of India's plant, fish, amphibian, reptile, bird, mammal population lives here, and this covers less than 6% of the country's land area. Yet 30% lives here. Endemism, a significant proportion of species are endemic to the region. They are not found anywhere else. So if they are lost here, they are lost from everywhere. They're lost forever. And globally threatened species, 225 species in the Western Ghats are listed globally threatened by the IUCN. So clearly there is a problem. And but we have a solution, and the solution is community-led ecological restoration. So what do we do in community-led ecological restoration? We identify these large land parcels which typically belong to the government, either forest department or gram panchayat, or there is another category called community forest rights, CFR. So there are also a lot of land parcels which are segregated as CFR lands. So we identify these land parcels. Idea is to focus really on large degraded blocks of land where we can do large scale work, large scale, and then if I'm sure many of you are aware that Madhav Gadgil, Sri Madhav Gadgil ji, he had done a study of Western Ghats, and he had actually listed lot of areas across Western Ghats from Maharashtra to Kerala as ecologically sensitive areas, and he had advised the government not to undertake any mining activity in these areas, and keep them, let them thrive, or rather stop human anthropogenic activity in these ecologically sensitive areas. Unfortunately, that report never got implemented, and we saw what happened in Wayanad. Wayanad was incidentally one of them, the Wayanad tragedy which happened recently. There are several other tragedies over a period of past couple of years happened in Maharashtra, which were also on ecologically sensitive areas as listed by Sri Madhav Gadgilji. So we have that list, and we actually prioritize our work in these ecologically sensitive areas. The next is, of course, securing approvals, which is easier said than done, especially if the land belongs to the government, forest department. It's not very easy task, but over a period of time, we have cultivated the necessary patience that is required to maneuver through the system. Because if we have to work in that area, if we have to work on large land parcels, we have to learn how to maneuver the maze of government approvals. And we do that, and we have worked already 1,500 acres we have done, which is all government land. The next step is really establish a village level committee, because this is community led ecological restoration program. And so creating a gender neutral inclusive village restoration committee which has representatives from all the stakeholders is very, very important. Building their capacities to really work on restoration, especially carry forward the restoration, is very important. The next step is, of course, land survey and restoration planning. We also get approval from the Gram Sabha, which is very, very important, because Gram Sabha approval means couple of things. One is, of course, they agree to two things. One is Kurhad Bandi, and two is Lakud Charai Bandi. I'll explain if they are Marathi words. Kurhad Bandi is they will not use axe in the area that has been earmarked for restoration, because our experience is that 100% degraded land rarely you'll see some trees which have survived human anthropogenic activity. So they need to be they no point in disturbing them. They need to be so you have to let them alone, you have to let them live. So that is one declaration. The second critical declaration that the Gram Sabha makes is divert grazing, because we have to let grasses also live. We have to let the saplings which we plant thrive, and for that we have to divert grazing. So that the community agrees. So if a typically land parcel is say 500 acres, then we will allow 50 acres for to the community for grazing and work on the 450 acres. That is how we function. And after that, we land survey allows us to actually tell us what are the native species, what are the indigenous saplings that we need to grow in this area, based on what have already survived. And also, where can we undertake soil and moisture activities. We do a lot of loose boulder structures in the area, so that to stop the water flow. It's a mountain area, right? So water flows from the top and quickly flows down, so we stop the flow of water through these loose boulder structures. So we do that. We also do fire lines on the land parcel. So because forest fires are very, very common, so forest fires should not spread. If there is a fire, then from one zone to another zone, they should not spread. So they are like controlled burning we undertake between the different zones that we identify. So there's it's a 5-year process, lot of activities undergo. And then, of course, the first step is to restore native grasses that happen after monsoon. We just allow them to thrive. We also plant a very interesting grass called vetiver. Vetiver is a very, very interesting plant. Vetiver is a, as we all know, is used in several areas like mushroom cultivation. A lot of this gins are made from vetiver. It's a khus, so it's used in juices. It's also used in cooler side. You know, it gives you cool. It makes you cool. So people use that khus kind of curtain, very, very commonly used. So khas and vetiver are amazing. They are wonder grasses. So we actually do a lot of vetiver plantation in our farms. Very interestingly, this native trees plantation that we do, typically out of 100 trees, if we are planting, we will plant 70 trees which are native and indigenous, and 30 are planted which are fruiting trees. So that community can also get income from the forest that we are creating, which will allow community, because the ownership comes. The moment you bring in a commercial activity, everybody is interested in taking care of that activity. So it's very, very important that we introduce those fruiting trees, shrubs, herbs. Vetiver also gives the community a lot of income, so their interest in forest is enhanced. And of course, then once the plantation happens, now interestingly, these native and indigenous trees are not very easily available. So we actually have to grow a plant nursery where we grow these trees, because again, commercially not viable, so nobody grows them. So we grow our own trees. We collect seeds from the forest and then grow these. We have nurseries which we have started to grow this. And then of course, community awareness is a very big portion. Some photographs, this is the first one is grass conservation. The second photograph is where we are removing the invasive species. You can see some contour trenching in the top two right side photographs. Then this is a fire line in the bottom left. These are the women during plantation when they are going. We also make a lot of seed balls, and we use helicopter to drop the seed balls to top of the hill where humans cannot reach. I mean, people cannot reach everywhere. And this is one photograph from our plantation. This is how they actually carry everything on their heads and do the plantation. And this is the impact. We see ecological indicators in leopard pug marks, peacock eggs. Hyenas have given baby birth. Maternity ward hyena has made in one of our plantation project. Then groundwater table has improved. On the extreme right is lichen. Lichen only comes when there is clean air. We have dragonflies, clean air, clean water. They only come when there's clean and everything is nice. So that is a great indicator. So we clearly believe that the prosperity that people and planet, they can both live. We have proved through not one or two villages. It's not at an experimental stage, but it's at a replication stage. It's scaled up big time, and we have proved from one village to another village, village after village, area after area, zone after zone, landscape after landscape, that both people and planet can survive together. And what have been our biggest learnings? One, of course, the biggest learning is that system thinking, they create durable change. We don't take isolated solutions. We don't look at isolated solutions or chase isolated solutions. Instead, we view challenges and opportunities as part of the interconnected whole across ecosystems, economies, and communities. So by applying systems thinking, we design interventions that address root causes, create ripple effects, and lead to transformation that stands the test of time. The second biggest learning that we have is kindness. Kindness is catalytic. It is definitely catalytic. Kindness, it's not just value, but it is our strategy. It is the thread that builds trust, harmonizes processes, and bridges divide. Whether it's with communities, ecosystems, or institutions, kindness creates conditions for collaboration and co creation. In every action, it reminds us that change must not only be effective, it must also be empathetic. Listening builds lasting partnerships. We lead by listening. Deep listening fosters dignity, inclusion, genuine ownership among communities. It is through listening that we uncover lived realities, unlock local wisdom, and forge partnerships that are resilient, participatory, and rooted in mutual respect. Listening is a very important part of our work. As I said, most of our work is nature based, and nature based, we have to listen to nature. We have to listen to people who have lived experiences. Most importantly, sustainability is a mindset shift. It isn't just a goal, it's a way of thinking. We encourage communities, funders, all stakeholders to see beyond short term gains and embrace choices that regenerate, restore, renew. It's all about shifting from extraction to stewardship, from consumption to coexistence. How can you people help us? There are lots of things that you people can do for us. Most importantly, shift your lens. Start seeing the world through a systemic perspective. Understand how your daily action impacts people, ecosystems, and future. And it's not just about what you are doing, but why you are doing, and for whom, and importantly, at what cost. Kindness is my favorite, so lead with kindness. Whether in boardrooms or in villages, let empathy shape your decisions. Kindness builds bridges across communities, sectors, silos. It's the most understated force for change. Listen more deeply. Of course, already spoken about that. Choose regeneration over extraction. Make sustainability a personal mindset. Choose products, policies, partnerships that give back than take away. Whether in farming, fashion, finance, vote for the planet with your actions. Be partner and not just a hero. Join hands with us or others who are already working on the ground. Support grassroots efforts. Contribute your time, voice, resources, and amplify what is creating impact. I am extremely hopeful. I'm sure all of you are also hopeful. Hope doesn't mean ignoring urgency. It means recognizing that change is still possible and every action counts, and that we can shift the course, especially when people, purpose, and planets align. The window is narrow. It is definitely narrow, but it is not closed. And every tree planted, every woman empowered, and every drop of water saved, every mind changed is a hope in motion. You are part of that hope. Ra Foundation is part of that hope. And so we are, so are all who choose to act with courage and care. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
I'll stop
And
sharing.
yeah, and I really liked what you said. Means, of course, all the presentation, but the last part, sustainability is a mindset shift, right? So, and that's something which is very important, and we rarely see that. But yes, so that is something that we need to focus. There are many questions in the chat, so I would like to ask few of them. So, one question is from Achut, and Achut, you want to ask it by yourself, or should I read?
Yeah, sure. I would.
Yeah.
Dr. Sarika, thank you so much. It was an eye-opening conversation, and I went through your website for all the work that you have done. Wonderful, and thank you for saving the planet for us. Uh, I had a question in this. I am looking into the EST domains space, and biodiversity typically comes in. See, people talk about singular metal. What do you call it? Materiality, single, double. There's a triple materiality context, which is where a lot of these biodiversity, the context in which you operate, come into play. It's not so much active in the industrial domain, in the sectors, in the various sectors. Could you help answer how we can address this gap? Because you come from that perspective where you are sensitive to the context in which you operate and include them in your decision making. How would companies include biodiversity into their plans? Because they're mostly into financial or impact that they may cause to the environment, but not so much particular about the context or the context environment where they operate in. So if you could
Yeah,
explain, that would be
absolutely. No, no, absolutely. So we in fact we are making a biodiversity park, which is completely supported by a financial organization. It's a bank that is supporting a biodiversity park, and they are going to call it their own biodiversity park. So that is now happening. Then another large financial organization is creating a forest, which again, I don't want to name the company. It's like XYZ Forest. So they told us that this is the budget, and like as I said, we have large land parcels, so we kind of have zones. So we have told them that okay, this is the budget, this fits into this 25 acres. So this 25 acres is completely taken over by them for the next 5 years. They're going to take care of that, and they're going to call it, they're going to brand it their own thing, and then all the biodiversity that gets. So I didn't get time to mention. We have a third party biodiversity assessment done. Which is now biodiversity is very seasonal, as you would have realized that every summer there's a different biodiversity. Monsoon it changes, winter it changes. So from this summer to that summer, we engage BNHS to do biodiversity assessment. So then these reports are available to us, which then the organization, and they are like zone by zone reports available to us, which then the organization actually uses in their annual reports, that this is the our contribution to biodiversity. So although it is not in their sphere of area where they really operate, but for manufacturing it's a little easier, because there are some manufacturing companies who have told us that in 50 kilometers radius of our plant, manufacturing plant, do whatever you want to do, water, biodiversity, ecological restoration. So we work on that model with a lot of manufacturing organizations. But as you rightly said, financial organizations, they're like here, there, and everywhere. So how
Yeah.
do they? But I think Western Ghats is definitely very critical for everybody wherever you operate, because as I mentioned, that they regulate climatic conditions for India. So many rivers originate. Uh, Godavari, Krishna, which like literally the entire south of India will become thirsty if something happens to these rivers. So it's, I think, even financial companies can relate to Western Ghats, is everybody can relate to.
Thank you.
Very
So
difficult
basically,
question
it's
to
through
answer, but I
collaboration.
hope I have tried. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Basically, what you're saying is they could collaborate with you or organizations like yours to
absolutely.
help build the biodiversity. And I think from their perspective, it could be that they could uh, they could put a badge on themselves saying that they help with so much carbon sequestration and things like that,
Absolutely, absolutely.
right?
We do satellite-based monitoring of all the trees that we are planting, and they are all native indigenous trees. So clearly, they have much more capacity to absorb or sequester carbon. So we do geotagging of all the trees, and then and there is a way in which we can definitely at least provide how much carbon has got sequestered. We still have a little fuzzy knowledge on. In India, we still don't have too much knowledge on how carbon credits, etc. But preparedness is there as far as we are concerned. The basic preparedness.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great to know. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question.
And just wanted to add one more point over here. So maybe yes, biodiversity conservation is one of the primary outcome of this activity, maybe support by these organizations. The secondary would be a mindset shift. Maybe now we will have only few people who are working in, let's say, CSR department who are funding this. But maybe with collaborative approach, maybe if we could have few volunteers, and I guess many organizations are doing that. So they are bringing their team over there, and that's the kind of mindset shift. If we could do, that would be a major outcome of out of these projects, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, I would like to take this opportunity to invite all of you to one event that we organize every year during just post monsoon, called Climb for Climate. So although the word is climb, but we have different types of climbs. There's a steep climb for avid trekkers. There's a moderate climb. There's a walk. This is in one of the forests that we have created, and we also introduce biodiversity of that area. We have a biodiversity experts on our roles who actually talk about who tell. So like for example, I was a complete novice, I continue to be novice, and like lichen, when I saw the lichen for the first time, I didn't recognize it, and then I was told, I was educated that okay, this is a lichen, this comes only when the water is clean. And so there are lots of things that which we are not aware of, because we are so
It's 8 o'clock.
city and urban people. So we introduce people to nature. It's like going back to nature, and this is like an event where everybody can participate. It's in Nashik district, and we post updates on that on our LinkedIn Raah Foundation LinkedIn page, as well as on website. it will be available. So it's on, I think, 12th and that weekend, 12th and 13th of September, annual event is there. So do come, experience biodiversity, experience nature, and see the magic. I mean, just the moment you stop and human anthropogenic activity, how nature takes over. It's like magical. And
So
this is
thank you.
post monsoon, so it's all green. Yeah,
Nice.
Definitely. And I'll also share that in our WhatsApp group. So
that will
we
be wonderful. Thank you so
I'll
much.
share that.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
And one more interesting question, actually, it came last week. Just a minute. So I'll read this question. It's regarding the bamboo trees plantation in Palghar. So recently, the bamboo mission plantation program was launched through the efforts of Palghar district administration, and there was one more organization. So we had a question from our team, one of member. I'm not sure whether he's there or not. But yeah, the question was, is this initiative good idea? And what are the positive and negatives of this? So that's monoculture and how that works. So just one question.
Yeah. So that is the problem, unfortunately, which we discussed, that ecological restoration, that economic progress. So it's bamboo cultivation. It's a great idea, definitely. But again, it's not only bamboo. It has to be a combination. We cannot only do bamboo. Again, we'll wait and watch. We read that report. We were part of some initial conversations. So we are waiting to see how this is all panning out. But clearly, if it's only going to be bamboo, it's not going to be a great idea. See, of course, bamboo has its own advantages. Like it's a very fast growing plant. So great income opportunity, very fast growing plant. It's good for environment, ecological restoration, sequesters carbon. All that is fine, but again,
Demand
how?
is increasing.
Yeah, exactly. But see, the why is clear, but how is something which is the time will tell. And honestly, that's ultimately going to decide whether this is a great idea or not.
Yeah. So it was Varunji who asked this question. So if you have
Yeah.
any
Hello.
further questions, so you can ask. I guess he's there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dhananjay. Thanks for addressing the question, Dhananjay and Dr. Kulkarni, and thanks for taking the time out. So I just wanted to, I don't know, it's not a question, but what I've learned about bamboos is that once you plant the sapling, it remains stagnant or dormant for about 3 to 4 years, maximum 5 years. And then once its roots are set, then it grows from about 6 inches to 35 inches a day. So even if we plant or start planting the saplings now, by the time we start getting any results, it'll be another 6 to 7 years. So again, going back to monoculture and biodiversity, yeah, like you said, it would be a good idea, provided they cultivate it once it reaches its full maturity. But I don't know if that's part of the plan because the mission is to get Maharashtra greener. So not sure if it'll produce the results that we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in our food forest also, we have some bamboo trees that we give to the farmer. So, as I mentioned, we have like cashew, mango, combination of trees. But bamboo is also one of them. Some farmers also want mahogany. Mahogany is another 15 years. I mean, they can only take use of mahogany after 15 years. But they said it's okay. We have patience. So, some kind of forest species also we are giving in that, but that's very few of them. And as you rightly said, that again depends. I mean, for example, we give 2 to 2.5 year saplings, so that they are like healthy. They are well nurtured, they are well nourished till they are 2.5 years. So the survival rates are very high in our case, which even if when we plant on hills, etc., the survival rate is in the first year between 80 to 85%. And then of course we do gap filling in case there has been some mortality. We definitely do some gap filling. But when you are planting very small trees, see, there was some survey that I saw that in Maharashtra, some of the plantations, tree plantation programs that the government had undertaken, survival was as abysmally low as 20%, 20 to 25%, which is so that will happen if you are just planting a very tiny bachu. And then of course nurturing is also very important. So again, as I said, how is time will tell how they are doing it. And
So whether it's a ticking the box activity or the systemic long-term
unfortunately,
solution.
unfortunately. And like for us, it's like a 6 year program. The moment we take over land, 6 years we work on that land parcel with so much patience and so much kindness. So clearly, it's not like a one-time activity. You go there, plant a tree, and you forget about it. We have to water the trees. We have to take care of, nurture them. We have to stop human beings from going anywhere near. We have to stop grazing. There's so much related activities that need to be taken together over 5 to 6 year period. Only then can we really see a forest. So
Yeah,
So,
I've heard of nature versus nurture, but this is the first time I'm hearing nature and nurture together, and that too nurturing the nature.
oh my God, amazing. I love it. I'm going to use it in my presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a few
Yeah.
more questions. So I'll just quickly go ahead
Go ahead.
because we already crossed the time limit that we have. Yeah, so Anup is saying that it's great to know about the Raah Foundation and the tremendous work. Kudos to the effort. I would like to ask, as a CSO deep rooted with community work, what are the main challenges you are facing in implementing projects? Besides, when it comes to agro commodities, is there any market linkage support farmers are getting?
Oh, great question. Thank you so much for asking this question. So yes, the first couple of years were tough as far as trust building is concerned, because nobody knew us, right? So it was not easy to start work in a completely different area. But what we learned a couple of things. One is, of course, you have to identify the. So there are always some farmers with whom you can do these experiments. I mentioned about some of the experiments, failed and successful experiments. So you find such farmers who then you use to create demonstration effects. And once there is a demonstration that this organization is genuine, these people are genuine, the solutions that they are implementing are thought through and are going to help us move to the next level or break the vicious cycle, then people come along. And see, for us, we have taken a strategic decision to only expand through adjacencies. So we don't do something here and then go to a different location 500 kilometers away and do. So we just work in one location, go deeper in that location, scale to the next location, immediately next location. So that the goodwill we have created in one location takes us, it's very easy to move to the next location. And then we'll go to the third location. So we have divided the entire area into clusters, and then we work cluster by cluster, cluster by, go deeper in one cluster, go wider, go deeper in that cluster, go wider. So that is how we work. And community engagement, we have a person, we have a team called community engagement people. All they do is create bridges with the community, stakeholder mapping, stakeholder engagement, which is like a huge art, science, maths, I would say everything, because there are some very complicated stakeholders. You need to understand whom to engage, how to engage, how to what kind of conversation to have with them. So we have a team who does community engagement. So it's a continuous process. And then to answer your second question, market linkages. So we have created FIGs, which is for farmer interest groups. We already have a flower FIG, Jasmine. You need some economies of scale to actually implement FIG. You can't do it with small number of farmers. So you need at least like 300 to 400 farmers to do that. So about 1,000 farmer FIG is already there for Jasmine flowers and marigold flowers, Sonsafa, and they all actually come together. They collate their produce, and they collect it, collate it, and then bring it to the other market in the morning to sell. And I'll just take 2 minutes to explain how this Dada market thing happened. We actually had some student interns. We gave them the project that to give us a great best time. Dada market is like stock market. In fact, I would say it's worse than stock market. The flower prices are constantly varying through the day. So you need to understand which is the best time where the highest prices the farmers are going to get. So these students actually did this project and told us that by 11 o'clock, best prices, the highest jasmine prices are there. So we then work backwards the supply chain, that if by 11, if our farmers have to bring the produce, by what time should they really start harvesting? And it was like at 4 o'clock in the morning they need to start harvesting, so that by 11 o'clock the produce will reach the Dada market. 4 o'clock there is no sun, there is no sunlight, right? So we actually have given them those solar powered hats like miners use, and they actually use those and then do the plucking of flowers, and then by 11 they come to the Dada market. So we already have jasmine FIG. We now are in the process of creating FIG for the mango and cashew, so that will also happen. And then dragon fruit, of course, now the harvesting is happening now. This year July we'll see the first harvest. So after that, turmeric we are already doing. So all our turmeric farmers, we do processing in Palghar itself, Palghar, Nashik, wherever, Palghar and Raigad, two locations we have turmeric farmers. So processing also happens, like boiling of turmeric, drying of turmeric, processing of turmeric, and we sell the powder, turmeric powder directly, or we give it to spice manufacturers directly. So that is already in place. So yes, market linkages are very, very important, and the difference is directly between 20 to 25% income enhancement if you provide market linkages as against going through the traders. So yeah, sorry, long answer to your question.
But we got a lot of insights, and that was really interesting. The interns can also bring such kind of solutions when they are empowered, and I see the difference now. The
Yeah.
kindness, the listening that you shared. So maybe that was the factor over there. Yeah. So a few interesting questions. Like I'll take two questions at the same time. First is how individual contribute in improving animal biodiversity. What can we do? Maybe from urban area. First question. And second question is, what are the efforts done to preserve traditional knowledge in these areas? So I guess you mentioned about it, but still I just want a short answer on this as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, of course, one of the best ways we can preserve butterflies and sparrows in urban areas very easily, very, very easily. So, they are also very important part of our biodiversity. So, please have your balcony gardens, flower gardens in your balcony so that butterflies can thrive. Sparrows are become endemic. So, places where sparrows can nest, rest, uh, food for sparrows, all of that. So there are like so many small ways you can contribute. And of course, as I mentioned, that closely working with the grassroots level organization who are working in this area, support them, volunteer with them, amplify their voices. If you come across any interesting post, spread it in the group, create awareness about biodiversity. There's so much limited awareness about biodiversity, so many different ways you can do. You don't have to quit your job and work there. Right? There are multiple ways that can be done.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And
and
best way to teach maybe our children, first thing. And second,
absolutely,
if we have connect with schools, colleges, so hopefully we can connect with you also for some guest speaker,
absolutely,
guest sessions at the
totally,
schools and
totally,
colleges.
totally,
Because
totally, absolutely. So many different. And this, what was the second question you mentioned?
yeah, it's about what are the efforts done to
Indigenous
preserve
knowledge.
traditional
Indigenous knowledge.
knowledge.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So we are trying to collect as much as we can, especially by talking to the senior citizens in the villages, and so some of them definitely remember how it was during their childhood, what they used to do, and these are all tribal indigenous people. So they have so many folklores. They have so many stories about the mountains, about the places. Like simple example, they worship nature. They have two gods, Vaghya and Hirvya. So Vaghya is, as we know, animal, and Hirvya is nature. Hirvya is green, so it's like trees. So and they have so many stories of Vaghya and Hirvya. So we are trying to capture as many stories as possible. But I think we need to definitely improve the efforts as far as capturing this ancient wisdom is concerned. But we have started our efforts in that direction. Yeah.
Wonderful. And the way you shared, no, so as an organization, you have principle of listening, right? So I guess
Absolutely.
that's where the trust and that's where the traditional knowledge that comes into picture. Because otherwise, if you just go there and you tell them that we are the experts and we want to teach you something, so that's not the maybe right way to do, and also that will not succeed in long term. So I guess the way that you are working, listening with an intent, so that's, I guess, the change maker, and also that delivers the traditional wisdom into the projects, and that's how it's
Totally. And it also brings ownership by the community, most importantly.
yeah.
Community then starts owning the program and the solution.
Yeah. And that's where the majority of CSR projects fail, because that's not owned by the community, and the proper exit or sustainability plan is not there. So yeah, agree with that. Yeah, so we have already taken more, 15 minutes more. But still, if anybody has any comment or any short question, you can.
Dr. Kulkarni, just wanted to check if you encourage soil testing among farmers for
Yeah, absolutely. Soil testing not only on farms but also in the ecological restoration program, large land parcels. So absolutely very important. And in fact, in most of the cases, we have deficiency, nutritional deficiency in soil. In most of the cases, especially boron is missing, phosphorus is a problem. So there are a lot of issues that we see. So definitely all these. So humus is, we use humus, we use all these neem and so many other solutions. So we have like a very strong agricultural team who works on soil restoration and soil improvement. Yes. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Any final comment from any one of you? If you want to just sum up what you learn in the session, so that would be great. What I learn is,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
I'll start. Yeah, is it? Sorry.
yeah, Amol here. Yeah.
Yeah, Amol,
So
please.
actually, your work is just commendable. Actually, I did not felt that it was a great actually learning. Actually, in you are working socially, you are collaborating with the governments, right, with the manufacturers, and definitely you have raised the livelihood of so many people. As you say, 5,000. It's and people depending on them. And the most important thing that people were, as you were saying, that monthly people were going away from their villages and coming back, and now they are staying back. So this is really commendable. We cannot think also what is going, and people are in such a, what you can say, in poverty, and we can't think also. Okay, so as you were saying, 50,000, and you have raised them almost 75,000 or 1 lakh. Okay, so a lot of insights actually, and a lot of things and that concept I liked actually regarding this firewall, what you are creating. So because that is a, what you can say, uh, today it's a big risk because a lot of fires are happening on the mountains, and actually we don't know how we can take care of it. So I think that firewall, maybe I think you are removing the trees in some 1 meter or 2 meters. I think from the
Yes.
photographs I could
Yes.
visualize. Okay,
Absolutely.
so so a lot of things definitely will connect with you
Sure.
in some other way. Hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, wonderful. Anyone last comment or last feedback you can?
Yeah, Dhananjay, Ajit here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it was a wonderful session, ma'am. Full of energy. We could see it every word, every sentence that you were speaking to the world. That means we have just started thinking about sustainability in last couple of years, but you have been living this for a decade or so, and this all environment, social, what we speak that courses through your blood. That we could. So it was a great session and great learning. We'll connect you and follow you on the
Thank you
social
so
media.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. If anyone would like to add, please you can. But what I can say about this session is, so truly you are showing us the Raah towards biodiversity conservation, and at the same time, how prosperity, economic prosperity can be brought to the people. And second thing is, uh, it's not just means what Amol just recently shared, right? So the people are staying back. So it's not only about staying back, but it has rippling effect on their education, on their complete life has changed. So that's really a tremendous work that you are doing. And yeah, so a lot of gratitude for the wonderful work that you are doing. And inspiring thousands of people to be a environment warrior and do something great stuff. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for being here as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll send you, Dhananjay, invitation to Climb for Climate. Do share
Sure.
it in your group. Thank
Sure.
you so much, everybody. Thank you
Yes,
for
Sure.
invitation and
thanks.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening to me.
Yep.
Great session.
Thank you. Thank you.